What's up, friends? Welcome to Chaos Live. You guys are awesome. You guys are like quick as heck to click on that notification. So notification platoon is representing hardcore today's live stream. So welcome if you are new, if you've never been to one of these. This is my fun little live stream that I do on the weekends to hang out with you awesome people, answer questions, answer whatever, it can be military related, almost anything ish related. It just kind of depends, I guess. But we got some people that were like way quick to get into the live stream. We had like Andrew Jackson. It was like, I don't know how you clicked on it that fast, but you were in here pretty much like very shortly after it was broadcasting to YouTube. So shout out to you. That's awesome. We got Peter, Al Herrera, we got John, we got Master D Stacks, we got Doug the Eliminator, Steve, we got Brendan, we got Danny, we got Give Me $5. We got Dogo something crazy. I don't know how to say the whole crazy name. You guys sometimes come out with some crazy screen names, I swear. Sir, we got Christian. So what's up to all you guys? So if you have a question, you can answer it or you can ask it in the live chat. I'll do my best to try to answer quite a few of them. I can't get to every single one. Otherwise, it takes forever on these live streams if we did that. But I do have to skip around a little bit, so you can ask it a couple times. But in the end, if I still don't get to your question, just come back to the video later, ask it there. Or follow me on Instagram, and you can shoot me some messages from there. A lot of times I'm able to reply to messages if you send me something really important and you want to know. You message me on Instagram, and sometimes I can reply back. So let's see what we got here in the chat. What's up, Al? Welcome. We got Doug. What's the story, Glory? Just same old. I clicked so fast, so you guys were fast. I haven't watched one of these in a while. Well, Brandon, was it Brenda? Thanks for hanging out and coming back then if it's been a while. Let's see. Give me $5 saying what's up. Always good information. Well, thanks. What's happening, Shane? Always love the videos. Well, thanks, Andrew. Notification platoon. Exactly, Edward. Peter saying, how's my day? It's all right. It's good. Tired. A little bit busy night doing work and stuff. So, hanging in there. Just keeping it real, I guess. Let's see. Will I get drug tested when I take my ASVAB? No, not when you take your ASVAB. The first drug test you would have to do would be when you go to MEPS. So you would go and you take the ASVAB to make sure you even qualify for the military, for the Army, or whatever branch relates to the military in general. And then from there, then you have to go to MEPS, which you do the physical, you'll do a drug test, you do all sorts of other stuff to determine, what you qualify to do. But you won't do a drug test when you do your ASVAB. That's not until later. Does all 20 years have to be active duty to retire from the military? So it works a little bit differently for like reserves and National Guard. Like if you want to retire at like 20 years, it's still hard to retire usually at 20 years. Usually they make you do a little bit more than 20 years. It's kind of hard usually to get accepted for your retirement packet at 20 years. But that's active duty. Now for reserves and National Guard, there's a little bit different way that it kind of works. I don't know it that well, but supposedly like the way that they factor in based on how many, like when you did drill and all sorts of other things. So it's not going to be like you signed, on the dotted line, let's say, just to make it even in 2000, and then in 2020, because you're in the reserves, you're eligible to retire. I don't think it works. It doesn't really work that way. So you have to, you probably have to talk to a recruiter about that way if you wanted to know, but it's not exactly 20 years if you're doing reserves or National Guard. Can you tell me about 88 November? I don't really know anything about it. I would have to look it up, and maybe it might be a future MOS Monday, and I'll do like some research about it. But offhand, I don't know anything about it. Is 25 uniform a good MOS for civilian jobs? Most people that I've known that were like 25 uniforms and then got out and got civilian work usually got into the IT field. So that works fine. But there isn't really anything that's exactly the same as a 25 uniform in the civilian side. Most of those people that I knew, they did like IT type of work. But yeah, it's not bad. It still works out pretty good. Chris, I plan on watching Full Metal Jacket starring Gunny. What should I eat while I'm watching it? Popcorn. You gotta eat popcorn when watching movies. It's just the way it goes. Hey Chris, I have a question. Is it true that the Army Reserves and National Guard got deploy every 4 years? It's not necessarily like a set thing like that. Some people will have like stabilization, it's called. So you might get like stabilization where you don't have to deploy for X amount of years. If you don't get any stabilization, then you could deploy whenever, but there is no really set time. Like when I was in the Army active duty, when Iraq and Afghanistan was very active, it's not as active as it was back then, but we were deploying every other year. So you'd have a year being deployed, and then a year not being deployed, and then a year being deployed. So it was a little bit rougher. Every 4 years, I don't know. I don't know if that's an actual set plan. It just kind of depends. So, what's up, George? Let's see, saying love your videos. Well, thanks. What's up, Chris? Happy Cinco de Mayo. Thanks. I didn't do anything special for Cinco de Mayo. I mean, I had some chips and salsa, if that counts. Otherwise, nothing too crazy. Do they really have medical records at MEPS? No, I don't think they'll have your medical records, like from your civilian doctors and everything like that. No, they're gonna do a lot of tests on you so they can figure out a lot of stuff, but they're not gonna have like your civilian medical records unless I can't remember if there was stuff that you had to like submit for certain stuff. I don't remember. There might have been certain portions you have to submit because you have to be like current on certain things or something. I forget though on all that stuff. So, Southern Sun, what's happening, man? How's it going? Been busy doing lawn maintenance and landscaping? That's no fun. What's the breakdown of Army units from an Army all down to rifle squad? Well, it's not a rifle squad. I have a video on organization terms. It's more going from like a team. You have like the lowest level is kind of like a team. Then it goes to a squad, then a section, then a platoon, then a company or a battery or a troop, depending on what type of unit you're in, and it goes so on and so forth. But I have a video on Army organization if you want to look that up, and you can kind of see some of the different kind of breakdowns of how that kind of works. Can you become an EMT after basic and AIT if you go in the guard or reserve? Well, it doesn't really matter if you go in guard or reserve. I mean, if you're trying to go, can you become an EMT after basic and AIT? I mean, you could get the certifications if you want, anytime really. It'd be hard if you're, active, but if you're doing like 68 whiskey and certain other medical positions, you can get EMT certified by the end. So, oh yeah, what's the goal? So yeah, we'll do a light goal. Let's do 69 again. We'll stick with 69. We did that before, and that seemed to work, fairly well. Of doing a goal of 69. So that's gonna be the goal, somewhere in between 50 and 100. We're still not yet at a level where I feel that confident that we can get to 100. It's kind of a fluke kind of a thing the couple times we did so. So we'll go with 69. 69 is the light goal. So if you enjoy the live stream, hit that thumbs up. We'll try to see if we can't get to 69 before the end of the live stream. I still had to make it. I talked about the last live stream about making it to where if I got to a specific goal, we would do something like maybe extend the live stream by an extra 30 minutes or something like that. Maybe next one. I'll try to remember, and we'll do some kind of thing where we'll have a set goal, and if we reach that goal, then something happens, like extended live stream or something. I don't know. Who do Marines keep? Why do Marines keep eating crayons? I have no idea. I have a Marine friend, and I've asked him if he knows where the hell that little kind of joke comes from. He says he has no idea. So I don't know. Did anyone have any private jokers or was it Gomer Piles in their basic training platoon? I probably did. I don't remember too well. I'm sure there was. I don't remember. What's your favorite MRE? It used to be the spaghetti or even chili mac was pretty good, but I don't know about the current ones. I still want to try the pizza one. The pizza one sounds interesting. I'd like to try that out. So, I love my little startup company. I really enjoy it. Well, that's awesome, Southern Sun. Good deal. Chris, did you live nearby your MEPS? I did Miami. It seems they put a lot of people in hotels for testing. I did not. I lived about 4 hours away from my MEPS station because I lived in a really small town in California called Bishop, California, and my MEPS station was in Los Angeles. So I had my recruiter pick me up and he actually picked me up the night before, and then a lot of people got put in hotels, which is probably what should happen to me, but instead, I slept on the couch in the recruiter station. I don't know if my recruiter was a cheapskate and trying to save on some money or didn't want to travel down to Los Angeles. I don't know. I don't know what the deal was, but I slept on the couch in the recruiter station, and then about 5 o'clock in the morning, he came and picked me up from the recruiter station, and we went down to Los Angeles, and I went through MEPS. So yeah, I probably should have been put in a hotel because I know a lot of people did. So yeah, a little bit kind of crazy on that end. So Let's see. I work in IT already. Do you think I can skip some parts of 25 Bravo AIT? No, like even if you have like all the certifications that they want, they're not going to necessarily let you skip parts of AIT or anything like that. They're going to just kind of, you still have to go through the roll with it, right? So even like 88 mic, right? What I was, if you go and you have to, you already have like a CDL, let's say, or something like that for truck driving. It doesn't mean you get to skip any AIT because they still want you to know the military side of things. Because even if you knew the civilian side of IT, they want you to know the military side of things. There's certain military protocols, certain military standards that you have to do that's not the same on the civilian side. So even if you already know it on the civilian side, doesn't necessarily mean you know the way that the military wants to do it, because the military probably does it differently. So yeah, it still kind of goes off that way. We got a super chat. Was it Collier Jones? What's happening? Thank you for the donation. Hey Chris, what's your opinion on combat engineers? It's a good MOS, especially like if you want to do construction but do some of the really cool stuff. They get to work with explosives sometimes. They get to do stuff like doing like obstacles and all that kind of stuff. I've talked to several people who have been combat engineers, and they said they loved it and said it was a great MOS to be in. So if that's something you're looking into, I think it's possibly something good to do. So I think it's pretty good. So yeah, I think a lot of people seem to like combat engineering MOSs. I can say from experience, young Marines eat colored pencils. Not too bad if I have to say something. Awesome. What do airborne mics do? So, like, if you go airborne, no matter what your MOS is, let's say, whatever, 88 mic, you're a medic, you're a cook even, and you go airborne, you just get the training to be certified to know how to kind of do these airborne jumps out of planes. When you go to an airborne unit, you're still going to do your normal job, but, you just have to keep that airborne status by doing, one jump every 3 months or something like that. I forget what the standard is, to continuously be in that set standard. So that's the only kind of difference. You don't, like, as an 88 mic, you're not like jumping out with your trucks. As a cook, you're not jumping out with your field, with your food and all that stuff like that. It's just a status, and the only people that are really using it with their MOS is probably like 11 Bravos and a few other MOSs and stuff. But all the other ones is just more of I'm qualified to be able to do so. And then when you're an airborne unit, if there was a situation where you absolutely needed to jump out of a plane, then you're qualified to do so that you could. So that's kind of how it ends up working, I guess. I go to MEPS this Tuesday. Do you have any tips? There's not really anything, as long as you don't do drugs, just go with the flow. It's a painful process a little bit. You have to, just go through a bunch of stations, do a drug test, and a lot of other things. So it's just how it kind of ends up being. Hey Chris, sorry for missing your live streams. Work has been keeping me busy. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. I appreciate when you guys show up. If you can't make it, I understand people have lives. It's cool. That's why these things come up later, so you can always fast forward through them and get through the boring parts if you want to, and watch them non-live. I mean, it might not be as fun watching them non-live, but I just appreciate people even watching my regular videos or whatever. So no worries. If you come in with a CDL as an 88 mic, you get a fat bonus. I don't know. I'm not sure if I've ever heard that. I don't know if it makes a difference, because like I said, the driving civilian trucks with a CDL is different than driving military ones. Mainly just how it kind of like shifts and all that stuff like that. So I don't really know if they did bonuses for that kind of a thing. I'm still deciding on what MOS I'm wanting to sign for. Good luck to that. It'll be a tough decision. Gotta choose a good one. Is it true that 25 uniforms see combat? Anybody can pretty much see combat, practically anyways. I wouldn't say necessarily anybody, but yeah, I mean, it's possible. You could have a 25 uniform that's out on mission, doing stuff, going to set up retrans sites. Those are those are like sites where they have to set up like another antenna station somewhere to be able to relay that radio traffic somewhere else. So that's kind of just the way it ends up having to go to be able to get the signal to reach a little bit farther. So if in that process of you trying to set up that retrans site, you could possibly take fire from that or whatever. So there's a lot of MOSs where there's still the possibility of getting a chance of taking on some fire. So it's always kind of a thing. Chris, when am I getting my $20,000 bonus? If you're not getting it from me, but if you're talking about like you signed up for the military and you got a bonus, then usually you won't get it until you've completed AIT. So they want to make sure you can complete everything. If you go through basic and you pass, and then you go through AIT and pass, then you give that bonus, because typically that bonus is probably for that MOS you signed up for. They want to make sure you can pass that school, and then you qualify and get that bonus. So sometimes it works differently. They should have had it in a contract as far as how it's getting paid out normally. They'll say like whether it's going to be only half now and then half later, or if it's going to be half when you graduate AIT and then half after 1 year. Sometimes they have different stipulations of how that kind of ends up working. Jay the Born, what's happening? Checking in here. Let's get a thumbs up for tacos. I agree. But the goal is 65 likes. We're going to see if we can't get to 65 likes. Maybe the next live stream we'll set a goal of something special maybe will happen if we get to see, or 69, not 65. 69 likes. Or did I say 69? I don't remember. What was it like your first week in your unit as a brand new soldier? Well, with my unit, so my very first unit was 113 Armor in Fort Riley, Kansas. That unit is no longer an Armor unit, and now they're now a Cav unit. So now they're 113 Cav, and they're not in Fort Riley anymore. But my first week was busy getting ready for the National Training Center, because my unit was getting ready to go to the National Training Center later that month. So it was pretty much just kind of quickly getting into it, quickly learning how things work, and then I think maybe 3 weeks later, I was off to the National Training Center. So I went right into it. So, but you know, there's still a little bit of in processing you have to do. You have to kind of process into it, get into the system, get issued your equipment, and all that kind of fun stuff. But yeah, mine was right off to NTC shortly after. Joe Billings, what's happening, man? Checking in, brother. Awesome. Thanks for stopping in. Coming to you from Miami. Well, awesome. Thanks for watching from Miami. Do you know if during drill week can you go... Whoops, I lost that one. Where did it go? I was reading it and then it jumped on me. There you go. Do you know if during drill week can you go to your house to sleep as Army Reserve? No, not usually. Because, and from my experience that I know of it, because I have a lot of reserve soldiers that come through my facility where I work at now to train them. And usually all the people that I do the training for, they're usually staying in some kind of reserve barracks on post. They kind of treat it as like a, almost like a field problem in a way. So that time is dedicated to the military. So you're going, they try to maximize the most out of training that you can during that weekend or that 2 weeks a year that you do. So of the experience that I've seen with the reservists that come through like my location to do training, for me to train them, they're usually staying in reserve barracks. So they do training all day, and then at a certain time they go to chow and all that stuff like that, and then they go back to the reserve barracks. Sometimes they're doing additional training a little bit later in the evening in the reserve barracks, and then back to training the next day and stuff. So no, you won't usually, from the experience I've seen, go home during your drill time, because you're going to get plenty of time at home when you're not doing drill. So they kind of think of it that way. They want to dedicate the maximum amount of time that they can during this. What's a good MOS if you want to be with big vehicles but want to be able to be in combat? Probably an engineer. Engineer still gets to work with a lot of big, larger vehicles, like a combat engineer, and then still have some missions they do with combat-ish related stuff. Or, I mean, you could do 19 kilo to work with tanks, so that'd be more of a track vehicle type of thing. So, yeah. I guess there's a couple of options or possibilities for that if you wanted to kind of work with big, large vehicles, but still have some kind of combat or something like that. Gotta go, man. Hope that small donation helps. Well, I appreciate it. Anything, even just stopping in to say hello. I like that as well. So that works. What's happening? Was it Andreas Guzman? How's it going? Welcome to Chaos Live again. When you were in, did the post have a nuclear shelter? No. There's no nuclear shelters that I'm aware of, if there is any. So I don't think that's a real threat that really needs to be worried about at this time. I don't know. Unless there is some secret ones and we just don't know about them. I don't know. I have never seen anything like that, though. Every drill we did, we slept in the field, never got to stay in the barracks. Yeah, and that kind of varies, too, on what it is that's going on, too. So it depends. I don't remember what the MOS of some of the people that I've had come through my facility for training. And it probably depends on the location too. So like Fort Carson has reserve barracks downrange that they utilize for the reservists. There might be other locations depending on where you're doing training. If you're not doing training like on a main active duty base, you're doing it at some other smaller base, they might not have room for you. So you get stuck setting up tents and doing stuff that way. So I think a lot of it also just depends on what capabilities the location has that you're going to be doing the the reserve training, your drill week or whatever. So hey Chris, do you know if you could buy a phone while in AIT? AIT kind of depends. Some AITs will be really strict, some will be a little bit more lenient. So you really won't know until you get to AIT. If they're your AIT, you show up there and they're like, yeah, you guys keep your phones for those of you that already have phones, or whatever the case might be, you might get weekends off, then cool, you might be okay with it. But you might have some AITs that are kind of strict where they're like, no, it's pretty much on lockdown for X amount of weeks, and then you start getting a little bit more leniency. Like for my AIT, but again, this was back in '99, right, when I went through AIT. Mine was 5 weeks long, so it was a shorter AIT, so they were strict for most of it. I think it wasn't until the last 2 weeks they kind of lightened up a little bit. Cell phones weren't a big thing back then, so I don't know if they didn't really have any kind of policy. We couldn't have any cell phones, but cell phones weren't also a really popular thing at that time frame. But we didn't really start getting like free weekends until like the last couple of weeks. But that was back then. Things have changed now, so some things might have lightened up, some things might have gotten stricter on certain things, so it just really depends. So it'd probably be something you'd have to wait until you actually get to AIT to really find out. Great content, dude. Keep up the good work. Well, thanks, Steven. What do you guys think of the new schedule that'll be starting next week? If you didn't see that post about it, next week starts a new schedule of doing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then a weekend live stream still like normal. So yes, that does mean I am eliminating 2 Minute Tuesday. And in that post, I talked about why I'm eliminating 2 Minute Tuesday. It's a good series, and a lot of people seem to like it, but the problem I'm having is it's starting to get harder and harder to find good content for me to cover to you individuals that isn't cutting things short, right? So there's maybe a few other subjects that I could probably cover for a 2 Minute Tuesday episode, but then it starts coming down to, well, how much stuff am I gonna have to leave out to make sure this video is only 2 minutes long, right? So that's kind of tough on some things. That's why like those longer explanation videos are usually 10 minutes long, 11 minutes long, 8 minutes long, or whatever, because there's a lot of information I have to explain, and I try to explain it thoroughly. Some people don't like that. Some people, I guess, want something really quick and everything, but the Army isn't that way. So if you have a short attention span and you can't hang through an 8-minute, 10-minute video, you're going to have a rough time, because there's a lot of times in the Army when you're stuck with a whole day of class watching nothing but PowerPoint slideshows on something really dumb. So, so that's kind of why. I don't want to shortchange anybody that is really interested in getting the most knowledge they can about the Army, or learning the most that they can about the Army, by me having to cut a lot of stuff out. And I've already tried doing both a 2 Minute Tuesday and a not so 2 Minute Tuesday. The majority of people that watched 2 Minute Tuesday did not go watch not so 2 Minute Tuesday. It was a very low kind of viewership on the not so 2 Minute Tuesday. So that's kind of why, but it'll be still MOS Monday, so I'm going to continue doing it. Wednesday is like a whatever Wednesday kind of video. The first one actually is going to be a Q&A kind of thing, where I took a handful of questions out of the comment sections from other videos to answer them in a video. And then Fridays, now the videos that used to go up on Thursdays just get moved to Fridays just to make it even, and those will be the Friday videos of really explaining stuff. So that's the kind of the new way, but Wednesdays will kind of be replacing the 2 Minute Tuesdays, and that's just kind of a combination of different videos that aren't necessarily me thoroughly explaining something. It could be news that's happening in the Army, changes that are happening in the Army. It could be a story from my Army experience, or maybe even just picking some handful of comments out of the comment section to answer some questions. So be aware, changes are happening. Is it hard to adjust to life after basic and AIT, or would you say that by that point you're used to the military lifestyle? It's not hard to adjust to it. It's a great relief, because you're used to it being super strict and everything like that. And then you get to your first unit when you're done with AIT and basic training, and you have way, way more freedom. And you're like, holy crap, this isn't that bad. Hopefully you don't get stuck with a leadership that you hate or something like that, because that can always mess up your experience, where you have maybe a crummy leadership or something. But that's just kind of depends on your experience. But for the most part, usually people are excited because they're like, hey, I'm free. I have all this freedom and everything like that to be able to do whatever. So just kind of be aware of that. You know, it's not really necessarily tough to get used to. It's usually a pretty good thing. Breakfast MRE with egg in it. As I was talking about, maybe you were replying to Southern Sun was asking about favorite MRE, or no, what's your least favorite MRE? You were asking. Ugh. Least favorite MRE? I don't know. There was some that I would always avoid and I never wanted to get. Some of those meat ones, like they would have like beef stroganoff, or certain other ones were really good. I didn't like those, and I didn't trust the meat, so I'd usually try to avoid those. Can you do a video on ADM mics in the 75th? I don't know. Maybe at some point I really would have to try to talk to someone who's been an ADM mic in the 75th Rangers to find out what that experience is like. It's probably not a whole lot different. It's only kind of certain things that are going to be slightly different, because you're still going to be doing an 88 mic job, but with the Rangers in the Ranger unit. So that, I don't know how that'll end up working. When do you use was it phonetic alphabet you're trying to say? Usually anytime you're on the radio, spelling stuff out, use it a lot. I have a video on it. It's an old video on the phonetic alphabet, but it's called, or the NATO alphabet as it's also called. So I have that video up as an older one, so you can always check that out if you wish. How many likes are we at? We're at 43 likes. So the goal is to get the live stream to 69 likes. So if you're here, you haven't yet hit the like button, and you're enjoying yourself, maybe think about hitting that thumbs up, trying to get the stream to 69 likes in here. So be aware of that. Chris, I'm stuck. I don't know what job I want, and I take the ASVAB tomorrow, and I'll also get sworn in as well, and I'm torn between 13 Juliet and 13 Fox, or maybe even 92 Romeo. Heck, I could go 12 Bravo. So if you're taking the ASVAB, that's going to determine what MOS you qualify for. You're not going to start swearing in until you go to MEPS, and then that's when they're going to go, and before you even swear in, they're going to choose, you're going to have to choose an MOS. So it's not like you have to swear in and then choose an MOS. You're going to choose an MOS before you swear in. Just kind of be aware of that. And you're going to kind of do, like most cases, you'll do like a practice kind of swear in is what it's kind of is. They don't really tell you that it's a practice one. At least they didn't tell me, and a lot of people that weren't told this. But you go and you do that one that first time you go to MEPS. But then if you're not shipping out immediately, which most people aren't, most people aren't going to go and ship out immediately after your first visit to MEPS. You're going to ship out, at earliest maybe a couple weeks after that, some farther out than that. But you'll do another swear in the day that you're shipping out of MEPS, and that's the more official one. And that's sometimes they don't really tell you that, but that's the official swearing, is the one where you go to MEPS, you swear in, and then you get on a bus and you're off to basic training, or off to take a flight to where your basic training is at, wherever it ends up being. So that's kind of the main thing. But you just got to think of what job you really want to do. Which one are you interested in? Because it's not that easy to switch jobs like later. Like if you get into the Army and you don't like it, it's difficult to switch. You have to usually wait several years. It's not like something you can go and do it for a couple of years, like a year or two, and then switch unless you have a short-term contract like that. Usually you have to wait until towards the last year of your contract, and then make a switch if you qualify to switch to it, and they're accepting new people in that MOS. So that's just kind of the tough thing of it. Know of any Army schools that require you to actually kill something? I heard that Sapper School has a class where you kill and cook a rabbit. I don't know. Not that I can think of. I don't know if that could be a true thing. I don't know. Interesting. I don't know of anything offhand that we have to actually kill something or whatever. Other than coming in at a higher rank based on your education, are you still required to attend the full course of AIT? Yeah, you always have to still attend AIT. I don't know if there's any exceptions. The only time you really get an exception where you don't have to go to AIT is if you were coming back in the Army and there wasn't that long of a break in between your service, then you could skip AIT because you already know that MOS, because you were already in the MOS. Otherwise, there's not really any cases that I can think of where you can skip AIT. Even if you already know how to do the thing, like for example, you're doing a medic and you're already a registered nurse, or even a registered, whatever, you've got EMT, you've already got some, been to a medical trade school or something like that. It doesn't matter. You still have to go through AIT. So I don't think there's anything really that allows you to skip AIT other than prior service, or switching from another branch of military and just transferring into the same MOS. But sometimes they want you to do like a little kind of crash course or a little summary kind of thing, just to nerd, like you came from the Marines as a truck driver and you want to go to the Army as a truck driver, and they just kind of have to give some. Well, that one wouldn't really count because Marines go through the same AIT that Army does. So I don't know. How do I tell my recruiter I don't want to do federal Army because I want to go guard, but he's cool and I feel like I led him on? Just tell him, just hey, you decided that you don't want to go active duty and you want to go guard. I don't think they don't really care. They don't care if you're going active duty, if you're going to guard. They just like it that you're joining, and if you're joining, then cool. I don't. Well, actually, is that a different recruiter? So that might bum them out, maybe. I don't know. It might be a different recruiter because sometimes I think they have active duty recruiters and then National Guard recruiters and reserve recruiters. I forget if they break it down that way or not. So I don't know. But you just got to be honest. It's your career. You can't just be nice to the guy and then end up in something you didn't want to do just because you're trying to be nice. When you're married and living on base, can you switch from living on base to living off base while still at the same duty station? You could. You're going to be giving up your slot in on-post housing. So let's say you qualified for on-post housing and they had the availability immediately or whatever, and you got on post and you didn't like it, right? You could give up that position and say, hey, I'm going to get a place off post and we're going to move into this apartment or this house or whatever. And then that gives up your position in the on-post housing. And now if you say all of a sudden you're like, oh man, it was way better living on post, well, now you got to get back in line if you want to try to get back into getting on post. So that can be only a factor. But yeah, you could choose not to, that you don't want to live on post anymore and you want to get an apartment or house off post. That can happen. I've seen people do that because they got tired of like some of the strict standards sometimes that some installations will have with on-post housing, and so they got tired of that and they're like, no, I don't want to do this. We're getting an apartment off post or whatever. Do you ever do joint operation? I did, but as far as like if an individual like watching this would do it, it a lot of times depends on where you get stationed. And that kind of thing. Like Korea is a good one. Sometimes in Germany. Usually if you're stationed overseas, you have a higher chance of doing some joint, something with another country's military or whatever. You don't have quite as much of a chance if you're doing stateside because there just isn't anything. There might be an occasional thing where they come to train here in the United States, and you might do some stuff with them, but that might be it. What is AIT? Advanced Individual Training. So yeah, it's your MOS training. Special band members, Pershing own, go straight to their unit from basic. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know anything about Army band. So couldn't tell you if that's true or not. Maybe I'm just going to, I guess, take your word for it then, man. Leaving for Fort Benning in 3 days? Man, well, good luck to you. Muhammad King, good luck to you. Hopefully everything works out great. Chris, you should do a video about the IRR, Individual Ready Reserve. It's inactive. Isn't inactive? Is that what it is? Individual Ready Reserve? I thought it stands for something else. The inactive IRR. Maybe you're right. I don't even know about it until towards the end of my 5th year when I ETS. Yeah, I mean, look into it. Experiences kind of vary with that. I didn't have to do the IRR because I did 10 years in. You only have to do that if you do less than 8. I've known a couple of people that have, only did like 4 or 5 years and they didn't have to do anything. And then some had to go and report to go do like a little half-day class that they got paid to do, and then different kind of scenarios. So, but maybe at some point it might be something to possibly do a video on. It'd be kind of cool. How hard is it to get the firefighter MOS in the military? From what I understand, it's very difficult because there is not a lot of slots on an installation for that MOS. You only have maybe a handful of slots for Army to be on that because it's kind of a mix of Army and civilian individuals that are doing that MOS or doing that job on an installation. It's not like a whole unit of firefighters like you're gonna have with engineers or with 88 mics or with 11 Bravos, right? It's just a small section just working out of a fire station on that installation. So from what I understand, it's a very difficult one. It's gonna really just depend on slots being open and you qualifying for them and all that kind of stuff. So from what I understand, it's pretty difficult. Serious question. All right, get serious now. For the Army band, do they actually send you to music school to teach you how to play an instrument? Kind of a wasted MOS. I don't believe so. I believe actually if you try to go for the Army band, you have to do a tryout. So you have to do an audition, and you have to already be really skilled at that instrument to get into that. I think they still do some sort of an AIT, but it's not to learn how to play an instrument. It's to learn how to do certain ceremonies and how to do certain things. So the Army band is what they do is they do a lot of things like morale and welfare type of things where they put on concerts to bring up the morale for soldiers, but then they also do things like ceremonies. So they might play music for, ceremonies. They'll do parade stuff. They do a lot of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things the Army band does, but from my understanding of it, you have to be really skilled already in the instrument, and then you simply go to AIT to learn about some of the ceremonial stuff of how to play the instrument while marching in a parade or while performing for something, right? But you're not going to go and be able to join the Army band and not have any musical skills at all, and then go to AIT to learn how to play the guitar or learn how to play the drums or whatever the case is, right? You have to do a tryout and then be good enough to make it for that, from what I've always understood of it. At my last post, NCO and mid-rank officers almost all lived off post because of lack of housing. Yeah, some installations are really, tight on housing to where they don't have a lot of room on base. So you have to go on a waiting list, and then you're stuck on that waiting list for who knows how long before you finally come up in line and are available to get on post housing. So that's a big factor I've seen a lot of times, but I've heard from some people where they got really lucky and they were just right time, right place, and they were able to get into housing very quickly. But most of the stories I hear, usually you're stuck waiting in line for a little while to get on post housing. Would you ever do reaction videos to things like Stolen Valor or Armory Fails? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe that could be always end up being one of those Wednesday videos at some point in time. Who knows? What's your craziest ball story? I don't know if I really had a whole lot of crazy stuff. I only went to a few balls, maybe 3, 4 Army balls, not a lot in my 10 years. Because I went to a couple of Army balls, a couple of unit balls, so definitely less than 10. But I don't know if there's anything really that crazy. I mean, you see it'd be kind of funny seeing some of the higher ranking people getting drunk. You see your commander getting really wasted and all that stuff sometimes. But I don't know if there's really any crazy stories of anything crazy happening at any of the balls I went to. So, okay, the only one I can think of, I don't even think of it's really that crazy, but I went to an Army ball in Korea, and they usually have at the ball, they have this one table that has just a table placement for one person with one chair, and it's supposed to be like the memorial table for someone who couldn't make it, someone who was killed in action or something like that. And so it's kind of in honor of those individuals who have been killed in action, and can't attend these kind of things. So they have this one table that nobody's supposed to sit at. And I was in Korea, in Seoul, Korea, at Yongsan, and doing an Army ball. And I think it happened to be at the time that they were kind of recognizing that table and kind of doing this little speech about it and about what the purpose of it is. And there was this Korean guy who was working at that hotel that we had the ball at, and he wasn't paying attention, and he went over there and sat down in that chair and stuff like that. I think around the same time that they were talking about it up on the podium, and someone had to go up there and hey, get out of that chair, get out of the chair. And so that was kind of funny. I don't know if it was crazy. It was kind of funny at the time, but that's probably the most craziest thing maybe I've ever had happen at a ball, and that's not even really that crazy. Fort Hood is nice this time of year. Sure, it's okay. Some people love Fort Hood. So some people a lot of times units go to the field and do a lot of training at Fort Hood, but the area can be pretty good. I mean, it's not that far to Austin, it's not that far to San Antonio. So for that reason, a lot of people love Fort Hood. It's crazy. Can't wait for the day I join the Army. Well, good luck to you, Danny. Enjoyed the stream. Give him hell, brother. Thanks for hanging out. What are we at? We're at 51 likes. 51 likes. So remember, if you were enjoying the live stream, we're trying to get it to 69. 69 is the goal before the stream ends. We've only got about 20 minutes left of the live stream. So the goal is to get the live stream to 69. All right. Can my high school technical degree affect the money I make in my MOS? No. The only thing that can affect you getting paid more is your rank, of course. If you knew a qualifying language well enough, you can get language pay. If you went to airborne school, you can get jump pay. If you're in a combat zone, you can get combat pay. A few other little things here and there, but if you have some kind of technical degree, you have like say a bachelor's degree, an associate's degree, or whatever, that alone doesn't make it to where you make more money. It might make it to where you come in the Army at a higher rank, which results into making more money, but it doesn't mean that you just generally make more money because of that. So that's I guess how it would kind of work. What do you know about 74 Delta? I'm about to go to the basic, and that's my MOS, and I want to know what you think of it. I'm not even sure what a 74 Delta is. So let's see. Is that what it was? 74 Delta? 74 Delta. I might not know anything about it. Oh, the Seaburn one. I did an MOS Monday on it. I've known one or two people that were in this MOS, but they were in the MOS like a long time ago, like back in like the late 90s, and got out of the Army around that time frame, got retired out of the Army in the early 2000s. And then a lot of people that I've talked to about that MOS say that they get stuck doing a lot of details. They call it a 74 detail, is like the little kind of joking thing, because there's not a lot of chemical stuff to do, especially with today's world. So you get stuck doing just details a lot. So that can vary. I mean, you might get a good installation that doesn't necessarily do that. So it just kind of, I guess it depends. But that's, from what I understand, that's how it ends up kind of going. Shout out to all the 92 Gulf's culinary specialists, some of the hardest working soldiers in the Army. I agree. Those guys or girls work long hours. It's crazy. So they get stuck, because they have to be up there at the chow hall super early to prepare breakfast chow. They have to be there pretty late, tearing down after dinner chow. Not usually all in one day. Usually have split shifts, but still, it's a tough thing to have to go through sometimes. So that's the thing that people don't appreciate sometimes with that MOS. So, was Jimi Hendrix in the Army band? He was not. I think he was what was Jimi Hendrix? I think he was infantry. I think Jimi Hendrix was 11 Bravo. I don't remember for sure, but he wasn't in the Army band. No, I don't know if there's anybody. That'd be a good one to look into. I should look into it and see if there was anybody famous that was in the Army band. Most of the famous people that were in the military were usually like 11 Bravos. There was it Pat Sajak? I think was finance, and then he did radio, and I forget what some of the other ones and stuff. But I don't know if there was anybody I wonder if there was anybody who was like in the Army band and then got out and was a musician, like in the civilian world. That'd be kind of interesting to try to look into. I'll have to find out. That'd be cool. Chris, would an 88 mic or any non-combat MOS ever carry frag grenades while deployed or outside the wire? Sometimes. I never did. We had smoke sometimes, but it was for like emergency stuff, for like medevacs. But frag grenade, not typically. I wouldn't say that's Army-wide thing, but that's probably not a typical thing. Peace out, Girl Scout and sisters and brother people. Thanks, Southern Sun, for coming to hang out. What is 88 mic AIT like? Just a lot of driving, learning how to back up a vehicle, how to back up a trailer. Current 88 mic school uses the PLS system, so they're doing things with the flat racks and everything. I have a video on when I did MOS Monday on 88 mic stuff. I got some reference from some of the newer stuff that they're doing nowadays in AIT, so it's got some good stuff in it. Good night, man. Was it Peter Dragons? Thanks for stopping by. Gotta hit the rack. Have stand to in the morning. So if anybody's not sure what stand to is, it's I don't think you really have stand to. It'd be kind of weird unless you're watching me in the field. But they usually do stand to, which is where you have to get up super early in the morning before the sun comes up, because that's the optimal time that an attack could possibly happen. So you're waking up super early before the sun comes up, and around that time, and you're getting into a fighting position. And then while the sun's coming up, you're watching the perimeter for attacks, and then starting your day and stuff. And you usually have to do that in the field all the time. Do stand to. I hate stand to. Just enlisted for 68 Whiskey 2-year contract. Did I goof? No, I mean, if that's an MOS you want to do, I mean, that's a short contract, and those are usually pretty hard to come by. So it'll usually be 2 years from when you graduate AIT, not usually 2 years from when you start basic training, typically, from what I usually see. So it ends up being a little bit more than 2 years, especially with like a 68 Whiskey. It probably end up almost being 3 years probably. But, and then after that time, if you are enjoying it and you want to stay in longer, you can always re-enlist and stay in longer, or if not, you can get out and go pursue a medical career. So I think it's up to you. Nicknames for these Army installations: Relaxin' Jackson, Fort Benning. Fort Benning is just the same. there's no special thing for Fort Benning. Fort Lawson Wood, Fort Leonard Wood. Know of any others? I don't know. I'm trying to think if I know any other ones. Fort Hood, they call it the Hood because like the outside area outside of Fort Hood, clean, is kind of ghetto. So some people would call Fort Hood the Hood. I don't know if I know of any other ones. Yeah, I can't think of any other things. Going to Fort Leonard Wood in July. Any tips for basic training? Watch my basic training videos, and you'll know everything. You'll be an expert. Hey, I want to do 18 X-ray. What do you recommend me to prepare? Land nav. So learn how to do land nav. That's a big killer that really messes people up. Is failing land nav. You have to get in really good shape. So I would recommend doing, long road marches. Do some road marches. Like I'm talking like 20 milers or so, with like 35, 40, 50 pound, bags on, to kind of get conditioned for that kind of style. Just get into great shape. Learn how to do land nav. I mean, you'll be taught how to do land nav, but you'll have an easier time if you know how to do land nav. I don't know what else to kind of say, because some of it's just going to vary. I mean, you can still do everything right and not get selected. That's the big thing with it. If you're still not one of the individuals that they want, even though you passed everything that they put at you, if you weren't in hardcore enough that they wanted, or didn't do something the way they wanted you to do it, even though you passed it, you might not get selected. So that's always the tough thing with going to special forces. Even Ranger too, because you have to go through selection to go into Rangers. So why and how does the Marine get the best uniforms? I don't think the best uniforms. I mean, it's, I guess, up to personal opinion. I do like the Marines dress uniforms, but I don't really like the Marines combat uniforms. I probably prefer the Army's, which also is now the Air Force ones too. So the Army and Air Force, I like those ones. The Navy one's not too bad either, because they have that newer style one too. But I don't really like the Marines combat uniforms, but I do like the Marines dress uniforms. Marines dress uniforms looks pretty sharp, but I don't. It's just a personal opinion if you feel that the Marines have the best uniforms. As far as celebrities that served in the Army, there is this popular YouTuber named ThatChrisChaos. I don't know. I'm still at a little over 37,000 subscribers. We got to get that past that 100,000 mark, man. I still very, 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 very rarely does anybody recognize me. The only time usually I ever get recognized is soldiers. Other soldiers will recognize me sometimes, once in a while. Like when I do classes and stuff, they'll be like, "Hey, I think I watch your YouTube videos." And it'll be kind of funny. So a couple admin stuff. If you are interested, let's see, let's switch it up right here. I do have a Chaos store. If anybody's interested in shirts, there's also probably like that shelf thing at the bottom that you can go to get to. But if you visit ChristopherChaos.com/store, there's all this cool stuff here. There is a Patreon that has different perks and all that fun stuff. So you can, if you're wanting more, you can even, for as little as $1 a month, get intel to find out what videos are going to go live next week and all that fun stuff. So just kind of keep those in mind. Check those out. There is also a P.O. box if you want to send me stuff that is legal to send through the mail, obviously. But there's that. And if you want a free sticker, a Chaos sticker, you can send me a self-addressed envelope with a stamp on it. And as long as I still have some Chaos stickers, which I don't have a whole lot left, I will send back a Chaos sticker if you're interested in that. But that link is also available down in the description down below. So if you go to the link down in the description, or you just go down into the description, that P.O. box is down there. So just be aware. Be aware of that. We got about 10 more minutes of the live stream. We are at 54 likes. The goal was to get to 69 likes before the end of this live stream. So we have 10 minutes to try to accomplish that. So if you're here, you have not yet hit that thumbs up, and you're enjoying yourself, maybe think about hitting that thumbs up so we can try to get to 69 before it's all over. What else do we have? Let's see. What is the MOS to work in the Armed Forces TV and radio? Oh, I don't remember. Yeah, that's an actual MOS. So you go and you can be like on the radio, being a disc jockey or a radio DJ, or you can possibly be an anchorman or anchor girl, woman, whatever, on AFN network, the Armed Forces network, doing news. You can they'll do sometimes commercials, they'll do a lot of other video related stuff. So I don't remember what that MOS is though. It's not the one that I was actually, There's another MOS that's similar to it that I found out about later that would have been pretty cool to do. It was a 25 Victor? I forget what it was now. But it was basically like a documentary specialist or something like that. And they basically go around with cameras and working on like little short videos for the Army or capturing stuff that the Army's doing and use those for, either documentary purposes, archive purposes, or for some kind of promo type of thing. So that would have been pretty cool. Do you ever work with CBs? Not when I was in the Army. I have done some stuff with CBs as a civilian now, where they will maybe do a little bit of training at where I work at. But other than that, no. I have never, other than that, done CB stuff. What happened to the Chaos leggings? They're still on there. Nobody's ever bought a pair of Chaos leggings. So the Chaos leggings are still on the Christopher Chaos store. It's in the Chaos section or whatever with all the Chaos branded stuff. But there's leggings. Nobody's ever bought any pair that I've seen unless I missed it and didn't see that transaction go through. But as far as I'm aware, there's nobody out there with Chaos leggings. If you want to be the first, then go for it. Give me $5. Might be a little weird, but because aren't you pretty young, I think? I don't know. I still want to see Chaos branded water or bottled water. That'd be crazy. They had they sent out like a survey. The people that make my stuff, Teespring, sent out a survey to a bunch of people asking what kind of items you might want to see. And two of the ones were really cool that I voted for. I haven't heard anything yet of them adding this to the availability of having these products, but challenge coins and patches. That'd be sweet. If they could add those to it, it would make it cool to be able to have the availability for any of you to possibly get a challenge coin if you wanted, or a patch, like a Chaos patch. That'd be pretty cool, but I haven't heard if they're actually going to do that. 25 Victor is AFN? Is it? I don't know if 25 Victors do the AFN thing. I think those are the documentary guys. I'm not sure though. It might be. They might be the ones that do it. Hey, did you know that they did nuke fracking in Colorado? Yeah, you sent me that video. That's why I know. Chris, can you use your e-tool as a melee weapon? Someone in your last video called me out for stating that. I guess you could. I don't know if I've ever heard of people using their e-tool as a melee weapon. I mean, you can use anything as a melee weapon. I mean, hell, when you go through usually some of the basic training stuff, they teach you how to do, butt strokes, which is using the butt stock of the M4 or the M16, whatever you have, to strike people that way. So, I mean, if you can do that, you could probably use an e-tool. I would imagine it'd be a lot easier to strike someone with the butt stock of your weapon rather than grabbing your e-tool out, pulling it out, screwing it in to tighten it down, and then striking someone with it. So, I don't know. I don't think it's impossible. Super chat, we got a $1 donation. Well, actually, another two $1 donations from WB, but no comment. No comment as far as something you wanted to know about. But thank you for the donation. You rock. Appreciate the $2. That's still awesome. Do you think that Stolen Valor has gone too far? I don't know. What do you mean gone too far? I mean, it's weird. I think some videos I've seen where veterans freaking out like crazy, like they're threatening to beat the crap out of people. That is probably taking things too far, especially since technically now Stolen Valor is not illegal anymore. They have the Stolen Valor Act they used to have got appealed back in 2012 or something like that. But if you were pretending to be a person in uniform to gain some kind of benefit out of that, then that's still fraud, I believe. So there's still some kind of criminal thing for it. But if you're just walking around in a military uniform and trying to brag about something, then technically that's not illegal anymore. So I always think it's kind of crazy if I see these videos of people, veterans threatening to beat the crap out of someone because you're now threatening to commit a crime for someone else doing something that may or may not be illegal depending on how they're doing it. So that's always the thing I always kind of I'm skeptical on of people doing some shady stuff. WB with $5 donation. Thank you so much, man. I'm doing butt strokes right now. Okay. I don't know what you're referring to in that manner, but sure. Thanks for the donation. You rock. Congrats on 37,000. Thanks. Thanks for the congratulations. Appreciate that. It's thanks to you guys, really, that I got to 37,000. So by giving your support and watching it, what are we at? We're at 59 likes. We need 10 more likes in 5 minutes-ish. Got about 5 more minutes left of the live stream. We're at 59 likes, so if you have not yet liked the stream and you want to like the stream, hit that thumbs up so we can try to get to 69 likes before we end the live stream. So just be aware of that. Hey Chris, this is Joe. Been listening at you for a while. I like what I hear. By the way, thanks for serving. Well, thanks, Joe. Thanks for watching Chaos Live, and thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Best way to stop a crime is to start a new one. Yeah, I guess you could. That's a quote from Conan O'Brien. Yeah, I mean, Conan O'Brien's pretty much an expert, so. What does Tilvaleha mean? What are you talking about? Is that a question from earlier that I didn't do? I have no idea. I don't think I see, unless it was much farther back. I don't know. Sorry. Can't help out there. Can you go to the 101st Airborne in the reserves? No. So that's the 101st Airborne is an active duty unit. Your reserves have their own things. I mean, you could possibly do stuff with the 101st or any active duty unit because, you know, that's some of the stuff that the reserve people are doing or National Guard people sometimes are doing is doing some things with other units, usually just during deployments. But for the most part, during normal training, you're just doing whatever the unit wants to do for training. It just kind of depends. But the 101st is an active duty unit. Which branch out of the 5 offer a guaranteed job? So Army does, if you get into your contract. The Air Force and Navy, I believe, do, but you have to qualify for it. So I think there's a certain score on the ASVAB or something that you have to get to be able to get choice of your MOS or your job in those in either Air Force or Navy. So if you don't qualify for that score, then they're going to give you whatever they want to give you. But if you qualify for choosing, then you do. And then Marines, I don't believe give you a choice at all. I think the Marines, I think there are some options where you can get a choice of the field you want to go to, but not the specific job like the Army might do. So I believe, I'm not 100% sure on that, but I believe I've been told that's the way it works. So the Army does guarantee, and then Air Force and Navy if you qualify, but Marines not necessarily so much. So, did you ever get in a firefight? No, not really. I mean, there was a couple of times where like maybe some rounds were fired nearby, not necessarily directly at me, kind of a thing. Not really technically something I would call firefights though. So, I knew a Marine that went in without a guaranteed MOS. He wanted to be an infantry, but ended up being a spoon. Yeah, Marines don't get guaranteed. From what I understand. From everything I've understood, I think sometimes if you score high enough or you have a good enough score or whatever, you can choose the field that you want sometimes. But I think that's as far as they go with the Marines. Have you ever worked with the State Guard or State Defense Forces? I have not. I have not. We're at a couple more minutes. We're at 61 likes. We're so close. We need 8 more likes to get to it. We got William with a super chat. Is it my birthday today? I don't know. Is it? If it is your birthday, happy birthday. And all you awesome people that are watching should say happy birthday, William, in the chat to make him feel loved because he is. Because he's awesome. And he gave a super chat. Bless he's also here, a part of the Chaos Army. So happy birthday, William, if you're saying. If you're asking as a question, I have no idea if it's your birthday. But if you're saying that it is your birthday, then happy birthday. Happy birthday to you, William. How often do you ever interact with a grenade after basic? Do you think soldiers should requalify with a frag grenade, like how they have combined or continue to qualify with their M4 or M16? It doesn't happen a whole lot. I think when I was after basic, I probably did it maybe like 1 or 2 more times. Some people will never do it again. It just kind of depends on if your unit wants to schedule a grenade range. I did practice ones quite often. There was quite a few times where I did practice grenades, but live ones, I think maybe only like once or twice after I doing the required ones in basic training. So that kind of depends. As far as being required to do so, maybe certain individuals that have to do it all the time. So like infantry might actually do it more often than like say an 88 Mike would. And that might depend on that. But I would think those individuals probably should do it more often. William with another super chat, $2. Thanks. Well, thank you, man. Thank you. So, happy birthday. What else we got? This is someone responding to someone in midway said, when your command quote. I don't know what that is. Do you have, Chris, do you have dyslexia? I don't think so. Why? Am I mixing stuff up? Am I getting stuff backwards? I don't know. I'm not aware of having that. What are we at? We're at 61 minutes. We only got to 64 likes. So I think that's probably not going to make it to our goal of 69 likes like we were hoping for. But hey, it is what it is. I'm still grateful for all you awesome people that came to hang out. Maybe we'll take one more question. I'm looking to see if one more question pops up in the chat. There is probably like a slight delay of what I'm seeing compared to what you're hearing, kind of a thing. I don't know. Is there going to be one more question? Looking for one. I don't know. Let's do like I normally do. Let's go backwards. Let me try to find one that maybe I missed. Let's see. Where's a question that maybe I missed? Does Army have, here we go. This will be the last question from Joe. Does Army have combat camera, or does Army have combat camera like Marines? Yeah, oh, actually we just talked about that. We already talked about that one. Well, I didn't answer that one specifically, but it's the same one. So let me find another one. Let's go backwards a little bit more. So we got a super chat, which I'll have to acknowledge that too, though. But yeah, thanks, what is it, WB, for the $5 donation. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I appreciate that. You rock. Here we go. Here'll be the last one. Can you shout out my little brother, Nick, was it Gura? He's watching with me. Shout out to Joe's little brother, Nick. Thanks for hanging out with Joe, keeping him company during this Chaos live stream, and watching me talk to you guys and answer questions. So shout out Nick, Joe's little brother. You rock. There you go. All right. So that's going to be it. This is going to be in the live stream. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. I appreciate each and every one of you, right? So if I didn't get to your question, come back later when this video's public on YouTube, and leave a comment in there, or follow me on Instagram. Shoot me a message on there. I can help out sometimes there if it doesn't get too overwhelming, and I can usually answer questions there too as well if you want to shoot me a message. So links down in the description, also to all social media as well, to the PO box, all that fun stuff, all that craziness. MOS Monday tomorrow. But next week also starts a new schedule of Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then we'll do a live stream either Saturday or Sunday. We'll kind of see how it ends up going. So thank you guys so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys, I guess, next time. See ya.